Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's presentation. Today, we are in a webinar presented by TimeSolve, and today's program is collecting outstanding revenue. How to get to zero AR by December 31st. So if you are like most law firms that have a little bit of outstanding revenue, and just to be really clear, that's revenue that you've earned that you haven't collected from invoices that you've sent to your clients. But if you are like most firms with outstanding AR, you're probably pretty interested in collecting that money as quickly as possible. So having a nice deadline at the end of the year is a really good place to start. So let's talk about how you can get to zero AR in the next few months here. So you might ask yourself, who the heck are you? And why does your opinion matter? Well, my name's Joyce Bradford. I'm licensed in North Carolina. I've been a practice management advisor, a legal tech advisor. I've worked in positions that have allowed me to consult with firms directly, as well as consult for organizations that created products for law firms. Right now, I do enterprise sales, and I work with a partner and consultant channel to bring the best products to market and to help law firms find the best solution for their firm's bottom line and also for their clients. But it's been about since 2011 since I've been doing this, and it's a great job. I really enjoy what I do. All right, so today we've got some objectives, right? And like most objectives for a webinar, they are pretty aspirational, but I think we can get to all of them. Number one, we need to be proactive in our collection techniques. We're going to discover proven methods to diplomatically encourage clients to settle outstanding bills, boosting our cash flow before year end. That's number one. That's pretty important. Number two, we're going to talk about enhanced client engagement, and we're going to learn how to facilitate clear communication, seamless interaction, accelerating payment, and of course, responses. And three, we're going to talk about efficient billing workflows, and we're going to explore how streamlined billing processes empower your firm to generate invoices promptly, adding timely revenue collection without having to worry about things going into accounts receivable. And while these are the objectives, I just need to be exceptionally clear with you. All of these things are possible specifically through TimeSolve. That's one of the reasons I'm presenting for TimeSolve today. You want to get to zero AR by December 31st? This is how you do it. You learn how to engage with clients who have outstanding debts. You learn how to set expectations for clients that you're currently servicing, and you learn how to leverage technology. So let's get directly into it, right? Key concepts, here we go. Diplomacy, social engineering, right? That's how we're going to collect our debts. We're going to talk about process improvement, and what did I just say? Leverage technology. That's a really buzzy industry term, so pardon me for using it if I overuse it, but it is something that I think I want you to hold close to your heart. If you are the type of person who gets tattoos and you're shopping for tattoos over the next quarter, I just consider just in a heart, like right here on your arm, leverage technology, right? Where you would put like mom or something, just leverage technology right in the heart. Consider that for me. If you do, I'll give you a year of software for free or something. I have to clear that through marketing, but I'm sure I'm sure we'd be fine with it. All right, objective number one. I want you to talk about diplomacy, political capital, social engineering. How do you get people to pay a debt that they have thus far been reluctant to pay? Great question. Our objective here is, proven methods to diplomatically encourage clients, right? But what does all this mean? What is all this jibber jabber? What am I running my mouth about here? Well, what it really means is how to diplomatically settle these things. Now, if you have any type of practice where you engage in mediation, you understand the importance of diplomatic communication. But even if we're doing that for our clients, on behalf of our clients, it can sometimes be challenging to do that with our clients. We think, I've provided you service. We were really clear in the scope of representation. We were really clear in the fee agreement. I, held my side of the bargain. Quid pro quo, man, pay up. And it can be challenging to one, engage with clients who haven't paid. So many of us just don't want to have the conversation and let things go. And then on the other side, it can be challenging to have conversations that are productive and actually result in payment. So number one in diplomacy, and this honestly doesn't help a whole lot if you have AR, but we do need to talk about it. Number one is setting expectations. When you are bringing someone on board, you need to be very clear, not just about the fee agreement, that what they will pay you, but when they will pay you, how they will pay you, what happens if they don't pay you, plans that we can go ahead and set in place if payment is not made promptly, right? And you need to include these things in your letters, in your representation agreement, in your fee agreement, that we agree to communicate with one another. If one of us can't fulfill our obligations, we agree to communicate. So maybe it's you, maybe you're going to be out of town and you're not going to be able to answer your client's questions for a week. You send them a note in advance of that week and say, hey, I'm going to be out of town. I'm not going to respond to email this week. I am taking a vacation. If you know that you're going to need something during this time, let me know in advance. Otherwise, I will respond to you when I'm back, right? And you need to set the expectation with your client. If you're unable to get something to me, maybe it's a document, maybe it's a signature, maybe it's money, you need to communicate that with me. Otherwise, our relationship will fail. And you need to point that back to it. You need to point back, to that language set early on. And remember your tonality. Again, you do this in mediation with your clients. You do this in your negotiation more than likely. But it is important to maintain respect and professionalism in these conversations, whether they be on the phone or an email. And please, folks, remember, we are educated attorneys. It can be so easy to rip off an email that is just really straightforward. It's just direct and to the point. But to your average layperson, that is an email, a letter, a phone call coming from an attorney. And that is a powerful form of communication that can be seen as deeply intimidating. So keep your communication easy to understand. It needs to be direct, but you need to really cautiously avoid sounding aggressive. You can be assertive, but you need to cautiously avoid sounding aggressive, especially early on in a collections process, right? Give people the benefit of the doubt. So let's talk about managing that deviation. Once someone's on board and you say, this is what's expected of you, and this is what you can expect of me too, right? If I can't deliver, I'll tell you. I owe that to you as my client, but you also owe that to me as your attorney, because this is a relationship. It is a lawyer-client relationship. It is legally protected, but we both have responsibilities here, right? So what happens when someone deviates from those expectations? Number one is you need to address deviations early. Do not allow non-payment of an invoice to go unaddressed because it's uncomfortable. The best thing you can possibly do is have a plan of action in place, and not just a plan, but the actual steps to execute that plan. So if it's phone calls, have a script for your phone calls. That might sound silly, but folks, have been in sales for a long time. It is easy to get on the phone and just forget what you were going to say, or someone gives you a response or asks you a question that you weren't totally expecting, and you just veer off track entirely. It happens, and it happens to the best salespeople in the world who are just paid all day long to collect money from people, right? I'm going to sell you something. I'm going to take payment from it. That's my job. Even we get distracted, right? So have a script. What are you going to say? What are the points that you need to cover? If it's an email, go ahead and draft your emails, right? Hey, I see you've missed a payment, or hey, this payment isn't received on our system. If you have made the payment between when I sent this and when you've read it, please send me a note or ignore. If you haven't, let me know when you expect to make payment so I can adjust accordingly, right? But just give people a reminder, a nice, friendly, easy to follow reminder. And in there, include a payment link. And that's where we're going to talk about leveraging technology, how we can make all of this easier. Anytime someone deviates from an expectation, it's important to emphasize your expectation. So it's 2023 when we are recording this webinar, and everyone knows that in relationships, personal or professional, you need to set boundaries, right? Everyone knows that. That's a commonplace accepted thing now. What we are really bad at is setting expectations. So if you've not done a good job setting expectations with your clients at that first deviation, that is when you should, right? If you expect me to perform for you, you have to perform for me. It is truly a quid pro quo relationship, right? We aren't doing this for free most of the time, but someone has to pay you for your service. If your service is already rendered, it's harder to make that, claim, hey, I'm not going to be your attorney anymore. I'm going to withdraw from the case because we had an agreement, right? But you really should emphasize the expectations and not just, hey, you have an outstanding invoice, but hey, this is what you and I agreed to. This is the conversation that we had. You go back to what you've said before. It's not a contextless, here's an invoice. It's we agree to a specific relationship with legal protections. This is what you are expected to do, right? And then, of course, you should have a remedy that's a quick acting remedy. Here's the link to pay this invoice in full or in part. If you'd like to set up a payment plan, tell me what you can pay and we'll set up a plan, right? But give people the option to remedy as quickly as they possibly can. And then number 3, I want you to make sure that you're maintaining respect. Avoid assumptions. Avoid this idea that people aren't paying you because they just don't want to pay you. Avoid the assumption that people aren't paying you because it's a bad practice area to be in, and it's really hard to collect payments from that particular practice area, right? Avoid the assumptions. They say about assumptions, right? So avoid the assumptions whenever you can. I know you're a human. Assumptions are natural. They're a way for us to just quantify our qualifications in the world, right? But we need to be rational beings and engage in rational thought. And part of that is setting aside assumptions when we can, if it's not helpful, right? So we're going to engage in enlightened self-interest, right? It might not be our first thought, but we are going to recognize that avoiding assumptions helps us get paid faster because we aren't going to put the other person on the defensive, right? We're on the same team. You're going to avoid the accusations. That's part of the same system here. Avoid accusing someone of failing to pay because they're malicious, and always assume ignorance over malice. If you are proven incorrect, that's fine, but assume ignorance over malice. Just assume that someone didn't know to pay. Assume that someone didn't realize that it was the deadline. Assume that they didn't have their credit card number handy and they forgot to get it later, right? Assume ignorance over malice and provide that quick, non-accusational, respectful email that provides a quick remedy to people, but have it planned out. Understand that if you have outstanding AR, it is not going to magically come to you. You need a plan to collect it. All right, so that's sort of managing the tone and understanding the diplomacy of this. The next step is process improvement. So let's talk about how to facilitate clear communication and seamless interaction with our clients. I'm going to go back to what I mentioned before, and that is onboarding. Onboard all of your clients consistently using email templates and integration with LawRuler. That is your best solution for TimeSolve. Bring your clients through an onboarding process where they get the forms, where you receive information from them, where it's clear and consistent every time. If you can avoid a manual checklist, you should. If you can't, then please use a manual checklist. But your fee agreement, your scope of representation agreement, your payments expectations, your communication expectations, the introduction to the culture of your firm. All of these things should be gone over in a consult, not just what type of practice is it and do you want to hire me, right? You need to just truly set expectations with your clients, and then you need to memorialize those conversations at minimum in an email. In your client communication, you are also going to find a way to manage your process improvements. And that is to include a payments link at the bottom of all of your emails, and at minimum, a payments link in all of your invoices, right? If someone does not have a credit card on file with you, you need to make it really, really easy for them to always find a way to pay you. Whether they're referring back to your invoice or just referring to an email, you need to be able to have them pay you, right? But In addition to that, they need to know when to expect to be billed. So have a consistency in your billing process. I know, especially for smaller firms who are looking for revenue, it can be really easy to have this idea that you just are going to bill as soon as something's done, so you have the best possible option to collect revenue. Please don't do that. Please, if you can avoid it, avoid it. What you should do instead is have specific days or a specific day in the month where you review where you review your works in progress or your open invoices, your unbilled time, your unbilled invoices, where you review those for the specific time period or specific closed files, or files that need to be closed, and then generate your invoices. Now, luckily for you, you can do this in bulk. You can review all of these things incredibly easily directly within TimeSolve. You can review them and then generate all of your invoices. Boom, boom, just a couple of clicks. Excuse me, folks. It truly is an incredibly easy process. But if your clients know what day of the month to expect their invoices and then what day of the month invoices are due, if you set that process with them very early on, they'll be much more likely to pay. They'll say, oh, it's the 15th. My invoice is going to come today. Oh, it's the 3rd, or it's the first Monday. It's the first Wednesday of the month. My invoice is going to come today. They're going to be in much more receptive and expecting of that information, right? And then the last thing, I want to make sure that we're leveraging technology. So how do you leverage technology in a way that will get us to 0 AR by December 31st? Number one, I want you to automate every transaction possible. Boom. Automate every transaction possible. So that means for all of your current clients that you have a trust retainer for, whether that's a true retainer or it's an evergreen retainer that you bill against, right? Whatever type of retainer you have the ability right now in TimeSolve to turn on evergreen retainers for matters. What happens is you can have your clients get a notification that your evergreen retainer or their evergreen retainer is below a certain balance, right? And they can receive a link on that reminder that then pops directly into that retainer. So let's go back here. Let me take 2 steps back. If your clients agree to keep a certain amount on file with you that you may bill against, but you have a hard time getting your clients to keep that retainer balance up and you bill against it until it's 0, despite the fact that you've told them that they need a $3,000 balance in there, right? You need to set up an evergreen retainer where you can easily send out reminders and a payment link for them to get paid. Number 2, I want you to set up recurring billing for all of your current clients that you need to bill every month if they don't have an evergreen retainer that you're just billing against. So this is where you do work and then bill for it. You don't have money already on hand. You've created an invoice for costs and fees, taxes, whatever, and then you bill your client, right? In those cases, you need to set up a recurring billing process to collect payment. And here's the thing, for both your evergreen retainer and your recurring billing, no matter what side of that equation you fall on, right? You can get a payment methodology on file in TimeSolve where you just send a notification of the fees to the client or the amount that's owed either in trust or to the operating account. So trust is that evergreen retainer, recurring billing would be for your operating, and you can bill against a methodology that is on file. Get a credit card from your clients. If you have a hard time doing this with your current clients, you can at minimum do it with your new clients that you onboard. Now, here's the thing. If your clients say, well, I don't know that I'm going to want you to bill against that credit card, you can say, okay, fine. Not a big deal. You're going to get an invoice 10, 15, 20 days before I actually charge that card. If you want to pay me in any other way, totally fine. Totally fine with me. I will accept payment in any way that'll be reflected in your account, and your credit card won't be charged anything at all, or will be charged only the remaining balance that's on there right after you've made a partial payment. You can do that, but get a credit card on file for all of your clients, at least the brand new ones. For those who have an outstanding balance, whether they are a current client or a client whose matter has been closed and you are just trying to collect, you need to reach out and you need to establish a payment plan with them, right? Now, what is a payment plan? A payment plan, we've all seen them, right? But in just simple terms, it's where a person pays less than the total amount that's due every month until they get their balance to zero, right? So with anything that you have in accounts receivable, you can say, you can call those clients up, you can email them and say, listen, you have this outstanding balance. We had an agreement. I don't want to take this further, but you need to understand that I have to collect payment on this. It's important. I've got all the evidence that I did the work. You have to make payments. I understand that you've not been able to pay me in full. Let's talk about a payment plan. Can you pay $500 a month? Can you pay $100 a month? Can you pay $25 a month? Whatever it happens to be, take the money, try to get to as much as you can, as quickly as you can, but take the money, set up payment plans for clients. And you have the ability to not just do every month, but every week, every 2 weeks until you get paid. And you can run that plan until it gets down to zero, and you can set that up in TimeSolve. So you don't even have to turn it off. So easy. And then it's just really important for you to use the dashboard. So TimeSolve provides you with some really incredible financial dashboards to say how much you have in AR, how much you have in your trust account, how much you have in unbilled funds right now. So you can watch as this money comes in. You can watch as these payments are made. And because TimeSolve has this direct integration with QuickBooks and it's a bi-directional sync, and if you are using the integrated payment processors that we have within TimeSolve, all of these payments are just automatically recorded. So you're not spending your time taking credit card numbers over the phone. You're not spending your time reconciling QuickBooks transactions with payments transactions that were just made in bulk, right? It's all set up for you. So automate your payments for your current clients. Automate your payments for your clients who have overdue balances, but no matter what, use TimeSolve Pay. It is a tool that is available to you right now, today, to set up to take payments. And before you say, well, I don't want to take credit card payments because there's a fee associated with it. Well, Charlie, are you getting all of the money that you should right now? Or do you have money outstanding? I say take the credit card, get paid more. It's worth it to have more money in the bank, right? Yes. Credit card processing absolutely does have a cost, and that is the cost of doing business. It's possible that in your state, and most states allow for surcharging to clients. If that's the case and you turn on surcharging, you have the ability to pass those fees at a set rate. You don't set those fees. Those fees are set by the merchant service provider. But you can pass those fees along to the client. If you choose not to charge the client those fees, you can adjust your rates accordingly, right? Because no one says that you are supposed to just eat these fees and do nothing about it, right? This is your business. So manage your business like a business. If you have an additional cost every month, then you need to allocate for the additional cost. That's just what that is. So make the appropriate adjustments, but please set up credit cards so you can get paid. All right, so we've talked about this. We've talked about payments. We've talked about integrating Law Ruler at that front end for CRM. And then the last thing I want to make sure we talk about is e-signatures. It's just important that you don't waste time on real ink and sending documents back and forth. You absolutely need to be using an e-signature tool so you can collect signatures quickly and without having to call back and forth. Now, the beautiful thing about the e-signature tool that's part of the ProfitSolve family, which is where TimeSolve lives, is you can send out these signatures directly from your email, and folks don't have to have a separate login and user ID and password. They can just get in, they get a link, they put in the password that you've provided to them, and that's just entirely customizable. And you have as many templates as you want. You can just throw a signature on a PDF after you upload it. You can have templates in there. It's so easy, and all of it goes directly back into the matter file that you have with that e-signature platform. So it's wonderful, but leverage technology, get those signatures, get those documents, get that credit card, use the technology at hand to have a successful business, and collect as much money from your current clients as you can before the end of the year. All right. There is so much more that you can know about TimeSolve, but today it really is just about collecting revenue. I'd love for you to reach out to the TimeSolve team to either start a trial, schedule a demo, or just learn more about the software. You can call them at their 1-800 number. You can email them at support@timesolve.com, or just go visit the website, timesolve.com, and the team will be happy to connect with you. Thank you so much for your time. I sincerely appreciate it. And I hope that you join us for our next webinar. Thank you so much.